Hello and welcome to Rippa Rambles with me, Jack the Ripper. And I wasn't 100% sure on what I should talk about. I had a couple of points, but they're a mixture of a tad repetitive and just not 100% sure on what to say, what particularly to talk about for this video. So I decided to ask the general populace what they would like in the video. And I got a couple of replies, not much, but so the first thing that is the most requested, true Philip DeFranco introduction style, the most requested story of the day was obviously, and everyone knew about this, is Mobius's smexy ass body and how it belongs to me. So glad that's cleared up. All your bitches get your own biatch. Mobius, that's right, you're my biatch. Live with it, bitch. Anyway. Moving on to the next subject, slightly less important. So let's talk about wargaming mistakes. And I'm not going to turn this into a hit piece, so I'm going to probably keep this relatively, not vague, but brief, I guess, or not going to go. So at first I was going to think about, I'm going to research it, go into things and examples that I know about, go pull up details. There's a point where these things were all mistakes at the time. We all have knowledge of mistakes, and we all remember certain things more than others. And it's not really going to change anything, is it? Do I think that means we should just stop talking about them? Oh, God, no. But what I'm saying is I'm not going to compile a massive list and just turn this into a hit piece of, oh, look at these things that make these guys crap. So I have got a few things. And the first two are a bit jokey, and the third one is a genuine point and leads into more of something I want to talk about. So the first thing is not giving more control to EU. So I'm aware, I kind of, especially with the sort of things with Tankfest and all that, I probably end up coming off a little bit sort of bias, at the very least, maybe like ass kissing. And I think if any of you listen to my videos, you know I give anyone shit if they deserve it. Now, the interesting thing is, Wargaming EU deserved shit for the Tankfest thing. Now, the console guys at EU had no control over the Tankfest thing, so I can't really give them any shit over that. I'm definitely giving shit to people like Phelan, who I've met a number of times, who had me, like any of you who've seen the videos or pictures from Tankfest or watched the live stream, I was sunburnt to all hell on like the first day, on the meet and greet day. And so the sun was really freaking annoying for me at that time, and he had me running around chasing after a YouTuber called Lindy Beige so that Wargaming could get him to work for them. Well, not work for them, is it? But, do paid advertisements. So Wargaming and him probably have done very well out of that deal. Little old me just got more sunburned to the extent where my a good portion of my ear came off. Not a joke. I think I posted pictures of it on my Facebook. I don't know if I posted it on Twitter. Probably not. But yeah, so I literally had, huge chunks of skin coming off me because of how much time I spent extra in the sun unnecessarily. The most of which was to do things like that. So I did work for Wargaming, literally worked for them at Insomnia 60, where I again was working rather hard, if I do say so myself, to the extent where it apparently became a bit of a joke of how give me some Red Bull and caffeine pills and how hard I'll work. Amongst some of the Wargaming staff. Apparently my reputation preceded me when I've met other members. So it's not like I've got no rapport or no kind of connection to this person in the world. And the way he handled the whole thing, I think, is appalling. The Beard guys have made a lot more statements about this, especially in their live stream. I know Ben often ends up going on mini rants whenever he's asked about it, because I think he's right. It's appalling. These are people who we've met, who have then allowed a decision to be made, or have made a decision. Because that thing I can't clarify. I would imagine that some guy in Minsk who is in the marketing department of Wargaming's head office, who has never been to Tankfest, has gone, listen, Sergey, I think that lots of people, they come to this Tankfest, they see tank, they play tank game, they give us money. That's very good. They've not been to Tankfest and realised that there's about a 3-hour queue to play a game. Now, the only people who are going to be doing that are people who play the bloody game and want to play, like, a press account. Sergey should have had someone on Wargaming's, actual side that's been to Tankfest going, that's a really bad idea. Sergey, tell Dumpkin off that that's a terrible freaking idea. And probably best not doing that, because all you're going to do is alienate everyone else. And in fact, you're probably not going to achieve anything. It's just not going to do anything. Here, you know, you may have saw my video, I think that was on the end of my last Rambles, and made the point. They're trying to sell something to people who already buy it. It doesn't work. And going slightly off topic here. But yeah, so ignoring that element of Wargaming EU deserves stick where they need it, Wargaming EU console have only got possibilities. And so here's the thing. So if I speak to any from NA, if I even get an answer about, you know, things like what they like from the game, what they do with this, and, you know, how it is. Well, first of all, they do the things anyway. So they, you know, as much as obviously I won't talk about this sort of stuff because this is some of those private conversations. But if I have a conversation with someone like Carbide, I might hear him saying what he would have done with a tank, and, you know, if he'd been in charge, what he would do. Now he's not saying, oh no, what they did is wrong. That's not what he's to say. Now, what I am to say is, having heard these things, I think what he said is the right thing to have done, and what they did was the wrong thing. Now, I don't necessarily think the Carbide thing was the best thing, but I think it's certainly better than the whole thing. And apologies to anyone who hears coughing in the background. It's not... I'm fine. My girlfriend's trying to sleep, and I'm being an arse by doing a video quite late at night, and she's got a cough, so... Nikki, get some water. I feel better. Anyway, go back on subject. So I get to hear all these things of the what ifs from Wargaming EU, and they're a lot better than what Wargaming NA do, put bluntly, and they're much better than what Wargaming NA say they might try and do. They're much better than what Wargaming NA can contemplate, and the fact that the staff just seems so different, and that kind of leads me on to the next point of Wargaming mistakes. Any staff member from Wargaming NA who actually seems to give a rat's ass about the game gets moved to this mysterious department called Quality Assurance. And once you're there, we send them to play with the other quality assurers, and they run around in this big farm and they assure the quality of many, many items. And don't you worry, Joey, Lassie's there too. They're all having a great time in Quality Assurance. Oh no, we can't go and visit the Quality Assurance farm. No, no, no. No one comes back from there either. They're all having too good of a time. Yeah, you get where I'm going with this. What a bullshit. We all know it's Wargaming's way of either they've been shelved or fired. And it just seems to be as simple as that. There's been a number of people who've gone there. Again, I'm not going to name names. If nothing else, I might remember them wrong, so not going to risk that. A number of people who I'm aware of who've gone to them and then they've just not come back. And I think that shows, and there is a disturbing coincidence, let's just call it that for now, that those people tend to be the ones who said, yeah, I think that when they did this, that was silly, I would have recommended they did this, but I was ignored, and they're the people who played the game and had a genuine interest in the game. And there's a couple who are probably, I don't know whether they've been moved to QA, but they certainly disappeared. And I'm sure if I asked enough, that I'd probably get told they got moved to QA or that they got fired. I think they're more likely to tell me that they got moved to QA. And it's a really strange approach to things of punish the people who care about your game from the inside. So I wouldn't be surprised if most of NA are in a very disturbed point of, even if they do care a lot about the game and really don't like the attitude and approach that some areas have taken, then they can't really do anything because they've seen everyone else get fired or moved to the QA farm. Not really sure why I do it in that voice, but I think it works. Anyway, yeah, so that sort of goes on to a little mini point here. Again, slightly off topic. Pilsen. My God, does that map prove the ineptitude of some of the decisions at Wargaming North America console? Lots of specificity points added after that. So, Wargaming console, whoever these people are, wherever they're from, whatever animal they are, you know, humans or animals, let's be fair. They still, I honestly don't think anyone has actually played the map. Like, I don't know if any of you have played Encounter. Now, this is that I'm going to undoubtedly, I can't say this without sounding a bit obnoxious, and I do apologise because it's not meant that way. It's more of a fact thing. So, fact, I have quite a high win rate. At one point I was maintaining, I used to care a lot about stats in the early days of my World Tanks career, and I maintained myself in the top about 4 people, I don't know, or something like that, 4 or 5 people on the entire player base for win rate. Because you know I played a lot of I did play a lot of Platoon, but even when I wasn't playing Platoon, I always played for the win. And so I would do stuff. Now, admittedly, this is often bad for WN8, but I would do stuff like I would purposely sacrifice myself in a certain way to mean that someone could cap. So I'd spam the cap circle, go cap, and then I would go and sit in a corner and I'd do my best to hold them off for as long as possible. And then I might even actively put my tank in a passage sideways where I'm clearly going to die. I might have been able to last and get another shot off, but it would have meant that, say, a light tank or a medium's got past me to go and reset the cap, and I will actively get myself killed to block them. Now, so even without doing that crap, I'm still maintaining around a 64, 67%, something like that. And obviously, weekly, monthly, it changes. Sometimes it's higher. I think I had recently had a month where I had like a 95% win rate, which was just daft. Just luck at the draw. But I have quite a good win rate. So statistically, I am more likely to win than I am to lose. Now, that means if I play a map, say, 10, 20 times, even with RNG going against me, I should get at least a 50% win rate on that map. Statistically speaking. Now, I'm aware that's a very poor statistic, but you get the idea. And unfortunately, I have never won. I don't know why, actually. On that Pilsen encounter, I almost always seem to spawn on the, I think it's west side. I think that's the way the map split, you know, with the west side being where in the down bit, where there's all the factory kind of things, and the east side being where there's all the hills and stuff. I have never won spawning on the lower down bit on the west. Never. And I'm talking, weirdly, this is the other bit, as I think back on the number of times I played it, I've never spawned on the east bit full stop, actually. Which may be why. But yeah, I don't know, 20 odd times I've played that map now on Encounter since it's been added. Probably a bit less than that, actually, but still, at least 10, 15 times. I'm thinking nearer 20, but maybe, I'm going to say 10, 15 is a safe bet. I've almost always, that I can remember, I've never remembered spawning on the upside, and I've always lost from the west spawn. And you might think, okay, well, if is this solos, because, you know, okay, because in a platoon you might have a better chance. No, I've been running super uni platoons. I've had platoons where, if you want to talk about it, the average WN8 in some of these platoons has been over 4k. I mean, these are not bad players that I've been playing with, and we all keep losing, like, on that side. And it's because of just how easy it is for the other side to win. It doesn't require any competence to win. And that shows just how badly designed it is. If you want to put an encounter on, fine. It doesn't really make a difference. I mean, but just don't put the spawn points there. Put it at the standard spawn points. There's no reason for the spawn points to be there other than, oh, look at me, aren't I quirky? No, you're a moron, you daft piece of shit. Play your game, understand your meta, and then actually develop something that's worth a damn. Which leads me on to marketing strategy. I have really weird segues. Sorry, in my head I just randomly started going off on the images of wargaming stuff going around on literal segues. Anyhow, so I'm going to combine these rather than talking about them. The marketing strategy has been really, really poor. I'll start it off with a mistake. So I want to set this video up earlier, but internet's been a pain in the ass. And so tomorrow, not when this video goes up, so today is Friday, tomorrow is Saturday. So the day it goes up for you, Sunday, which is 2 days from me now, but tomorrow when you're hearing this, there'll be a video where I'm with Deco Noir. We've got a 2 hour. I'm going to split it up into a couple parts because just to make the upload easier so I can get it out over the course of a day. But it's going to be a 2 hour video. Well, it's more to do with the render, actually. I don't know if my computer could handle rendering something that's 2 hours long. But yeah, so, and we talk about this in a lot more depth in there, so I'm going to go over this briefly. But basically, the Warlord Panther was part of Gold Week, a thing in Japan. Very, very big, very, very meaningful in Japan. and actually gives a relative amount. I mean, it's not the nicest looking thing, and it's been done a bit poorly. And, you know, it could be better as a premium. But the marketing of it was poor. It was, look at our new premium, the Warlord Panther, you know, represent the mighty empire. No, just tell us what it is. Tell us, as a tribute to Japan's Gold Week, we decided to release this Japanese panther. There is an air of historical accuracy to this because Japan did buy a panther and the blueprints for a panther at the time that they bought the tiger. So this allows us to both appropriate a culture or in terms of something that means something a great deal to them, and respect history and adding an element of realism of a panther in the Japanese tree of what could it have been. You know, that's it's a real like little nice touch. You know, there's nothing. It's not in your face. It's not go buy this. This is just a look. We want to respect some cultures' history, and I can't remember think of what the word is right now. But basically, you know, what their culture is and things in their culture. I'm sure several of you in the listening, watching this, are screaming at your phone or screen going, "That's that word, dummy, you idiot!" Anyway, and at the same time, adding a nice historical concept, which is kind of cool to it. And they could be doing all this, but they didn't. They just went, "Look at this brand spanking new. Hi, I'm Barry Scott." No, you know, but you get the idea. Something shouty in your face. Buy this premium, or you're an idiot. And I know. Cosmic Carry basically said that anyone who bought it was a moron, and that they certainly hit their target audience. I think that, you know, I didn't see a lot of point in the tank. I can say that for certain. In the way it was sold, especially, and this is the thing, the marketing. So the other part to the question, two things I was asked: wargame mistakes and what good could they do instead of reskins? And it's something I've addressed before. I wouldn't necessarily not do reskins. I'd just do them differently and better. So I've said a number of times. So the YAG-88, for example, I've already said, you know, I think I could quite happily let them release a tech tree variant, sorry, a premium version of a tech tree tank, I'm trying to think, what is it? So 38T, Panzer IV, Tiger, and then YAG Tiger, all Autocarius variants. I think that'd be amazing. I would love something like that. Now, it's not gonna. People don't have to buy it. It doesn't really make a difference. But it's a really cool history concept. And this is the thing: you do something that's cool. So, and then if you're being really clever, you do something like release it on his birthday or on the day of a certain event of where he got famous for. You know, one of his things. I think there's a moment if he's one of the first people to get like one of like the longest confirmed kills of the YAG Tiger or something daft like that. I think that was him. So, you know, you do something on the anniversary of that, you release a YAG Tiger at tier 8 with a nerfed gun handling, lower rate of fire. I've spoken about all this in detail in other videos. Blah, 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 blah. Autocarius YAG Tiger, tier 8. Ain't this marvellous? You're welcome to go, oh, it's just another reskin. Now, how cool is that? It's an Autocarius YAG Tiger. There's a medal in this game called the Carius Medal because of how historically important this man was in terms of his actions within the war. I mean, that's cool to me. I think that all the inner history buffs of us all kind of goes, ooh, isn't that nice? Oh yeah, sort of thing. Wow, my voice went really high then. All that sort of stuff. I think that's kind of cool. I mean, I've always talked about getting things like a Nipsel Tiger 2, but when I suggested that, I was privately told by one of the wargaming staff, just remember that Nipsel was SS, so a little less likely. But you know, you get the idea. I think I can't find it anymore. I'd have to see if I can dig through the forum archive or get one of the wargaming guys to do it for me, because I don't know if it's all available to me, opposed to they're my personal slaves. And see if I can find. I did a forum thread about this ages ago, where I actually listed a load of tanks, and I went through and I found. I went through and found the medals. I went through the medals in the game and found out every single person, and about who they are, and then found tanks that they actually used, and then suggested a tank and how you could variate it into the game. Variate is probably not a word, but how you could make a variant of said tank, because there was, for example, a number of the Russians and East European ones often used T-34s, and so I did some digging. I was like, okay, well, that guy technically, they both you know, all of them would have said used a normal T-34 and then say a T-34-85. But the one was famous for an event in a T-34 with a 75, one was famous for a T-34 with a 57, and one was famous for an event with a T-34-85. I went, well, there you go. You know, that allows you to actually create the variation. Or one of them I think one of them was more famous for, there was two of them for like T-34 with the 75, but one of them was a really sort of snipey thing, and the other one was sort of really gung-ho. So one of them was famous because like he defended a position when, you know, being charged by panzers and all this sort of shit, but he stood his ground, he stayed in a defensible position and just mowed down German tanks, armoured trucks and people, basically, for like a couple of days or something like that. And then another one of them was him and his little unit charged headlong into a large number of, I was going to say outnumbering, but a large number of German tanks and infantry and armoured vehicles and just smashed them all up. So in that sort of circumstance, my English is appalling today, I do apologise. In that sort of circumstance, you know, you give the guy who did the sniping, you give him better gun handling, and that sort of thing, maybe a bit of a better DPM boost, and then the other guy, you give a mobility boost, you know, make it better accelerating, maybe give the engine some sort of, you know, inbuilt the limiter remove thing that the Russians have. Things like that, that'd be kind of like a little nice touch. But then obviously give the skin of it as close to real life as possible, how that person's tank actually looked. And I think this is the thing, if you do stuff like that, I think that sort of stuff is really cool. I think that sort of stuff would make a massive difference. Obviously, things when you want to just add certain difference. So, for example, there's a lot of pref matchmaking tanks coming in. And I think Wargaming Console also would like to move away from pref matchmaking. A really cool thing, actually, would be is if you had two guns on a tank, and with one gun you got pref and one gun you didn't. That would be very cool, but I don't know if they could do that. If they could, then, dudes, make that happen. Because, I mean, how cool would that be? So, say in the Type 59, you had the choice between that 105 or the 100, and you see, my mate's playing his 95 E2. I'll just run the 100mm. He wants to run his T-34 now. Okay, I'll switch it back to the 105. I think that sort of stuff would be awesome, opposed to having to buy two tanks. But then just things like the fact that, I mean, I'm glad they did it. But the things like the King Dragon, where if you're going to make a tank and you're going to try and change it a little bit, do things like that. I mean, there's already a successful history. Things, for example, the T-34, the Scorpion. I'm pretty sure the actual other Scorpion with its 90mm is essentially a TD gun from a higher tier, if you think about it. So there's a history of taking guns down a tier, just playing with the gun handling, and making the gun handling worse, making the DPM worse, blah 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 blah, and then putting it in at a lower tier on a premium tank. I think that sort of stuff works. Like the Comet sort of thing now as an alternate history concept, rather than what the Banshee ended up being. I would have loved to have seen a Comet with a 17-pounder. I think that would have been a real interesting little take on things. But you say, give it the choice of give it the normal Comet gun with 12 degrees of gun depression, or give it the 17-pounder with, say, 8 or 10. And, you know, nice little choices like that. Choices as well. Give premium tanks a choice. I mean, if someone's paying for something, limiting the choice seems like the daftest thing possible. But I don't know whether that would happen. But certainly nice alternatives. So I say a 17-pounder on a Comet. Actually, it would be really cool, actually. It would be something like the 155 off the T30 on a tier 8. Obviously, nerf the crap out of the gun handling, and I'd even say drop the pen. So in the same way as the 130mm that's on the box tank, the SU-100Y, and the ISU-130 does, even though it's the same basically gun and it's essentially the same ammunition concept, they upped the pen on the AP and the standard AP, and then the high alpha AP got upped as well. So same sort of premise, but do it the other way around. You know, still give it an APCR, still give it an AP round, but make it so rather than high 200s, it has mid 200s or low 200s. And rather than the Prem having like 300 and something, give it like 280 something, or 270 something, that sort of thing. And I think that sort of thing would be, I think that sort of thing would work. Make it interesting. I jokingly suggested a carbide that a T49 with the derp gun back at tier 8 as a premium would be quite cool. I mean, ironically, I used to tell people that I preferred the 90mm. I didn't say it was more fun, I just said it was more consistent. And I stand by that accusation, claim, whatever you want to call it. And those are the sort of things I would like done instead. Obviously, a big thing, if I just say I took that Autocarius Jagdtiger I mentioned, if I just said, here's a Jagdtiger at tier 8, it's going to see tier 10, but it has 128. People would probably go, oh, it's just another freaking reskin. But if you put the detail into it and say, look, this is an Autocarius variant, we're doing it in Memoration, and on the day of Autocarius getting a certain confirmed kill, a certain distance with a Jagdtiger, that's quite cool. And it just shows you to say, and I'm not sticking up or attacking wargaming on this, but it does just go to show how something is sold to you changes everything. You know, if everything is different depending on how you view it, and how you view it depends on the information you're given. You know, if I gave someone a piece of rock and just said it's a piece of rock, they'd go, what? Wait, just probably throw it away, or more comically, throw it at me if they were at my school. That'd be it. And you're like, oh, but I gave him a rock. It's a nice rock. Do you not know? Do you not know that this rock is from the moon? Well, I didn't tell him it's from the moon. I didn't tell him this is a bit of moon rock that broke off after an asteroid and then plummeted to Earth, and it fell into a village off on the edge of Papua New Guinea, and it was found by a local tribesman, and then a adventurer in the 18th century stumbled across these people, and part of a barter agreement to get some alcohol off them. They, you know, I mean, it's a bullshit story, obviously, but you know, some kind of interesting thing behind it. That's the difference between people going, ooh, and leaning in, and you know, ooh, and going, oh, fuck off, will you? You know, leaning back and going, oh, I've had enough. But it's a rock either way. I mean, the same item, depending on how you sell it, is so different. And I that's why I say it ties into the wargaming mistakes, is how you do it differently. I mean, yeah, make a better product, but sell it to us in a better way. If nothing else, if you're going to try and take our money, at least don't take us for chumps. You know what I mean? Right. Anyway, last 3 points now, and 2 of them are short, and 1 of them's hopefully relatively short. So first of all, the grass is not always greener on PC. So it's something I've heard more about, and I know it's a big point on the forums, and it's something I always hear about, and it's quite interesting how quickly it gets dispelled, and how much PC players ironically don't want it themselves. So the PC matchmaking and the PC arty stun mechanics. I like the reusable consumables. I'm not going to include that in the premise. I'm aware they are tightly linked for the arty, but they're not the same thing here. So the PC arty, the stun mechanic thing, I think is horrible. Now, if you're against 1 artillery, it's not too terrible, but if that artillery is quick firing and focuses you, it's horrific, because the way that works, the splash damage now goes out much further, and the artillery is going to do much more consistent but low damage. But every time they hit you, your tank could be out for anywhere from 5 to 14 seconds or more, and if there's more than 1 artillery, it backs up and gets more and more and more, and during that time, it's like trying to fire while your tank's on fire. It's a real difficulty to play the game like that. And it will quite often be the difference between you getting a kill or dying. It'll be quite often the difference between you having a decent game and not having a decent game. And that's assuming 1 or 2 artillery. Recently, especially, I keep getting 3 to 5 artillery on the enemy team. And if I'm in a platoon where there's, say, like me and a couple of guys from Immortals, or me and a couple of guys from whatever the hell NS actually stands for, you know, the new 7F, you know, all these sort of well-known within the community people, and, you know, you get a 5-man platoon of artillery, or even 2 sets of 3 and a 2, whatever, some sort of combination of artillery who roughly know who any of us are, and we start getting focused. Imagine that with a stun mechanic. You know, those ones where, you know, you get unspotted, an artillery shell lands near you, tracks you. You don't take any damage, but it tracks you, and then you get, all of a sudden, the other 4 artillery shells land somewhere near you. You take 100 damage, and you're just like, whew, and then you get going. On PC, that wouldn't have been the case. You've just taken 600, 700 damage from those 5 frickin' artillery, and your crew doesn't want to move for a good frickin' half an hour. Now, if you then say, okay, well, oh yeah, but I used my my medkit. Now, first of all, I've noticed that on PC, the RT in that fashion seems to take out crew members a lot more often because it's based on like a concussion effect now. And so 5 artillery landing shells in your near vicinity, it's not just going to do damage. That could knock you out. That could take every single one of your crew members out if you're not lucky. So you're going to have to run a premium medkit, and that premium medkit still charges for the same amount each time. It's not like, okay, I paid 20 grand, now I only pay 20 grand. Every time you use that, it's going to cost 20 grand. So you've just cost yourself 20 grand. Okay, but at least, you know, I've got all my crew back in the game. Okay, well, you get spotted 20 seconds later. Rinse and repeat. If you've somehow survived, you've now got to wait whatever amount of time it is, another 40, 50 seconds, with, say, another 2 or 3 of your crew members dead, and again, unable to do anything. There's a chance you're probably not going to live through it. That's devastating. It's utterly devastating. And I really don't like the way it affects the flow of games anymore. I think it made RT even more powerful, but less able to do these monster games. And you will still get penned. I watch a lot of Orza now when he streams PC, and you'll watch him in, you know, IS-3s and E-100s and these tanks which officially shouldn't get penned as often as they used to, and should be much better at dealing with artillery than they used to, but they still get occasional shots. I think he was in an IS-3 or one of the like Fatherland, IS-3, one of those sort of Russian tank. Was it an IS? Yeah, I think it's that ISM thing that they've got now. And he had like a GW Panther land a shell on his engine deck and hit him for like 1400. It's just like, you know, what's he gonna do? So you still get the, when RT direct hits you and pens you still get those massive rolls. But at the same time, if they miss you, they're still gonna do more damage than they do now, and they're still gonna wipe your crew the hell out. And they're going to mean your crew's useless for those who are still left alive. I mean, I can't see that being better. And the matchmaking, I think, doesn't need anything. 357 is one of the stupidest things in the game on PC. It's utterly, utterly daft. And it just punishes low tier. I have no idea how hard it must be to grind with those sort of matchmaking things, because it must ruin at some point. And things like preferential matchmaking tanks destroy it so badly. You're never, ever going to be in a series. You're never, ever going to be the only bottom tier tank. So on World Tanks, even with pref matchmaking, you will get games in, say, a tier 8 pref where you will have 3 or 4 tier 8s and everyone else is tier 9. You won't get that on PC. You just won't get it. I mean, that's just too good for pref matchmaking tanks and not good enough for everyone else. So, last thing I want to talk about, and there's a reason why I kept it for kept it to last, is so I made, under advice from Sins, a Patreon a while back, and this is the closest I've ever come, and probably ever will come for at least a long time, to advertising it. So I made it with the idea of if I need to get to a point where I need to pay for a bit more internet, which I could always do with, then I could try and aim to fund that. Now, I've not got any tiers on it. If anyone reads it, it's a bit of a joke. I have actually, ironically, because I forgot, I basically had a plan when I made it, because it was a point when I couldn't upload, that when I came back to upload, I would try and I'd use up all my phone data, any data I can, and I'd try and push and get a month's worth of videos out. And in that month, I'd say, look, I'm going to try to do a test month. If this month I can get enough Patreons and enough money in to get a separate internet connection to support this, then I will do it, you know, essentially full time. Well, not full time, but, you know, get a video up every day, or mostly every day. And so that was the idea, and so I'd put it in the automatic add to description, and I just forgot it was there because it's off my screen. And then about 5 or 6 videos into the sort of normal uploading as I've been doing, I just noticed, oh, that's there. Whoops. But yeah, so it's there. I don't know if anyone wants it there. I'm from the sort of family where asking for that sort of thing is very, very awkward. I'm far more used to giving my money away than taking anyone else's, you know, for free. So, like, I literally, like, you can see me, I'm cringing just talking about this. But yeah, so I have a Patreon. If it's something that people are interested in, that I will create some form of, I guess, rewards. But I mean, I'm not going to ask anyone to pay me to platoon with me. You want to platoon with me, add me on Xbox and send me a message when you see me online. Simple as that. Or I ran into someone the other day in a game, and he said, "Oh, fancy, I'm a fan. Can I platoon?" I went, "Yeah, sure. Just hop in." That sort of stuff's fine. I do have a Discord, but I'll be honest, it's mostly used for World of Warships and occasionally memes. That's about it. So I need to wrap this up. But yeah, so there's a Patreon. If you want to use it, it's there. Let me know what you think, and so on and so forth. Anyway, as always, I've been Jet the Ripper, and I'll see you on the battlefield.